First thoughts, Lewis Hamilton did not have a chance at winning that race. No matter how much everybody thought that the Mercedes were back, Lewis Hamilton was back, it was a farce. He got on the right tire strategy. It was a different qualifying session leading up to the race this morning, and they had to go from hards to mediums to softs, and it was just strange. That's why he was able to beat Max onto pole. But boy, did he make a mistake. I've always said, with the new era of Formula One cars, it's not 1980s, it's not 1990s anymore, with Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, all those guys who could throw their car in front of another car at the start to block them. You try and do that with these new era generation Formula One cars, it does not work. You know why it doesn't work? You lose momentum too much and you end up getting passed. Lewis went to block Max instead of just getting a good start and going straight. Now, Max did a great move, came on the inside, but then he got by the next two McLarens Lewis did at the same time. So a horrible start for Lewis Hamilton, essentially ruined his race in a certain type of way because he was never able to rebound. He should have at least tried to think, hey, maybe I should be able to challenge Max at the front. If I lose on pace, let me just try and start the race in first or second and see where it goes from there. But he didn't do that. And the race was pretty, entertaining at the start of everything. It was pretty incredible. A lot of passing from oh my God, I'm watching the trophy ceremony right now. Sorry to interrupt what I just said. They broke one of the trophies. It got knocked over while they were spraying champagne. They're really delicate, like ceramic vases. They're very cool trophies, but one of them just broke. Very funny. I think that's Max's too, the winner of the race, if you didn't know. Anyways, yeah, a lot of battling at the start between different teams. Ricciardo, immediately, his first start to a new Formula One race, he takes out both of the Alpines. He crashes into the back of them. He doesn't stop when they go into the first turn. Takes out either Ocon or Gasly, and then Gasly or Ocon takes out the other one of them. And both of the cars had to retire. The team's completely done by like 3 laps into the race, off of a one-lap incident, the first lap. Now, the other great point of this race was, as dominant as Max was last year at this Grand Prix, I think he won by 15 or 20 seconds, and he spun and still won by that time. Domination, 33 seconds. He beat Lando Norris, who came in second. And that's all I can say. 7 wins in a row. They break the record for most consecutive wins for a Formula One team at 12. The old holders 11 of McLaren with Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna. No more. But if they want to win the most Grand Prix in a row consecutively at the start of a season, if they want to beat that record, they've just tied it. They have to win in Belgium because their record currently is holding over an Abu Dhabi Grand Prix from last season. That's part of their streak. But, I mean, just domination. Perez came back from a terrible qualifying situation, 9th, to get up into 3rd. That was pretty good by him. The Red Bull is just unmatched right now. It seems like the upgrade worked. A lot of people were saying, oh no, Max isn't going to be fast. Look at Lewis. That everybody's preying on the downfall of the dominant team, and I can understand that because it gets boring to a certain degree, but I think the upgrades worked, and Max finally figured out where they work, how they work, and 33-second lead. I'm to second position. And it was just, from there, it was just a total domination. Lando Norris in the McLarens with Oscar Piastri, they proved to me, man, it is not like a one-hit wonder. It is not a fluke. Their team is so good, and they might be the second best team right now. They're better than Ferrari, clearly, and they're better than Mercedes, I think, to a certain degree. George Russell really hasn't been up to the fight with Lewis, and that's another point. Russell had a horrible qualifying session, 18th position. He came all the way back up into 7th, but got moved up to 6th because Charles Leclerc had a 5-second time penalty. So pretty good recovery. If he can just knock in those situations, I think the top 3 teams now goes Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes. I think Ferrari is the 4th fastest team, and Aston Martin brings in another point. They've really not fallen off entirely, but they're kind of now fighting back, whereas between 8th and 10th position. I thought they really had a chance at being a top team again, but it just seems like the other teams are out-developing them. And you got to understand, the other team's been around a lot longer, and that's going to happen. From that point of view, you had Piastri in 5th. That's a good position for him. He shows up, rookie, right? and everybody acts, Lando Norris, I think, by most people, I consider him the second best driver on the grid. Oscar Piastri is proving that he can hang as a rookie in Formula One at one of the top teams with one of the top drivers in his first season. That, to me, shows balls, that shows character, that shows results, that shows that this guy's a true driver. And he was fighting with Perez with his elbows out, not going over the line, and my line's a lot further along than most of these Formula One fans now who think that even battling anybody that's not a straight DRS pass is somehow an infraction. I don't believe that at all. Oscar Piastri was having a good fight with Perez, and I'm glad the stewards didn't do a damn thing about it because it was racing. Leclerc and Sainz, 7th, 8th. Ferrari's an embarrassment. It has to be said. I harp on this a lot, but this race just proved everything to me about them. They messed up Carlos Sainz pit stop. Charles Leclerc, 5-second time penalty for speeding. It's not just the team. The drivers are mental cases. Carlos Sainz has no respect from anybody. He's the least respected guy on the grid. People talk about him as if he's a joke, and yet he's leading Leclerc in the championship. And that happens because Leclerc is a mental case and gets depressed, and if he can't get something done right, he sulks and can't put it together. He could have never been in that position where Max was fighting Lewis for that championship. He's not consistent, and he lets his emotions control him too much. And I look at Leclerc as a pure pace guy, but I mean, he's got to get out of that toxic culture. He's got to go to Mercedes. He better hope that Red Bull will somehow want him more than Norris, but I don't think they will. I think Norris is the better move. They don't like Leclerc that are, mental cases. So then you got Alonso 9th and Stroll 10th. Man, yeah, like I said, not too great for their team. They just have not delivered what they thought. You thought Alonso could actually challenge Max for the victory in Canada, but then they said, there was some technical issue. Maybe we could have challenged him for it. I don't know if I believe that anymore after all this. Got Albon in 11th. That'll be a great move for him. I think he'll probably be at Ferrari in 2024. They'll axe Sainz. I think that is the real move. He ain't getting that Mercedes seat because Russell and Hamilton are performing, and they're both going to stay there for a while. Bottas 12th. Trash Bottas. Get him out of the car. He stayed behind Albon for like 40 laps while he was only a second behind him. Under a second the entire time with DRS. Wasn't able to do a damn thing. Ricciardo 13th. This is the craziest thing about Ricciardo. Qualified well. Did pretty well in qualifying against his teammate who's been in the car so much longer than him. Has a terrible, god-awful start where he takes out 2 cars of the same team, takes out a whole team in essentially a lap, and he rebounds to actually outperform Yuki Tsunoda and come in 13th. Anybody who thought he was going to return to the Red Bull fold is delusional. Red Bull only wants winners. They want people who get things done. Daniel Ricciardo is, to a certain degree, a joke. He can't get things done right. He ain't going to any other team either, because after he performs like this in the AlphaTauri, if he doesn't just smoke them and get up into a top 10 position, if he doesn't destroy Yuki Tsunoda, ain't any other team picking him up. Got Hülkenberg in 14th. The Haas is the Haas at the end, but he's still beating Magnussen in 17th. Drop Magnussen, keep Hülkenberg, put some new blood in that team. Maybe not new blood, but maybe another driver that has some sort of experience. Maybe a Mick Schumacher, I was about to say. I think Mick will be more likely for one of these Alfa Romeo seats probably, or possibly even a Williams. Yeah, Tsunoda 15th, Zhou 16th. He started like 5th and essentially stalled the car at the start. He got passed by like 7-8 cars immediately. Yeah, Magnussen. Sargent spun with like a couple laps to go. He was out. And that was the race. It was exciting, I'd say, for the first part of it. If you watch the first 20 laps, there's a lot of passing. There was a lot of McLaren passing, Mercedes passing, Ferrari. I mean, it was pretty wild and fun. It got kind of boring in the middle part, and towards the end again, Perez was trying to claw up into a podium spot where he essentially got, and he's going to stay there. The only reason they're dropping Perez is for Leclerc or for Norris. Perez ain't getting replaced by any other driver. People can say what they want. He's still second in the championship. He's still putting in good performances all the time, even if his qualifying sucks. Now, what's my overall themes for the rest of the season after this Grand Prix? Because we got a couple storylines going on. I think Red Bull won't win every race because it will just be too hard to do that. If something goes wrong with Max and Sergio Perez isn't there, which seems to be very common, then someone will win. But that someone seems to be the McLarens now. It ain't going to be the Mercedes or the Ferraris. Maybe Lewis Hamilton. Maybe even George Russell if he's having a good race. But really, that's what's going to have to happen. But Red Bull could win every single race. And if they do, that will be the greatest Formula One season for a team and driver. Max is now on 7 victories. I think in a row. 7 victories in a row. He's got 9 wins, actually, this season. But Sebastian Vettel's was 9 in a row. If he wins Belgium and the Dutch Grand Prix, which he could easily dominate both, and then win Monza, probably could beat Vettel's record. And the team could just keep going with his consecutive wins. Fernando Alonso, how much longer is he going to be in it? He's at the right team right now. Got a couple years in him left. Could he replace Sergio Perez for a 1-season deal? That would be interesting. That would be great to see. I'd love to see something like that. Lewis Hamilton and the Mercedes, maybe they could win a race. Carlos Sainz and the Ferraris are just, I have a lifelong family members who have been fans of Ferrari. Nothing ain't going to happen anytime soon. The team's a joke. The management's a joke. When the drivers aren't screwing it up, the team's not pitting them correctly on the right compound tires. They're not doing the pit stop fast enough. And when they're not doing that, then one of the drivers is getting a penalty. You're dropping back into 8th position. And what you're starting to figure out, too, with Oscar Piastri's result was, man, he did make the right decision because everyone was like, man, you left Alpine, and at the start of this season, it did not look like it was the right decision. But damn it was the right decision. Now you're in a team that could possibly win. He almost had his first podium again today, but he'll get it by the end of the season. And who knows? Something happens weird with Max and the McLarens have a chance to win. Oscar Piastri could be up there, but he's got a great teammate by his side. And, man, McLaren's becoming great again, it seems like. Just interesting to think of. Daniel Ricciardo, is he out by the end of the season if he just does the normal stuff and they just want to replace him with somebody else? I think so. I think even if, could they drop him and Yuki Tsunoda and put Iwasa and Liam Lawson in there? That might be the move to do. I'd say, screw it. Drop them both. You have a Japanese driver, which is a good relationship to have, which you have Yuki Tsunoda. Replace him with Iwasa and drop Ricciardo and replace him with Liam Lawson. And then you got Zhou Guanyu. Is he going to stay in that seat? Yeah, maybe, because they got a Chinese Grand Prix next year, and it's good to have a Chinese driver, and, China is this big economic superpower. But I would say get rid of Bottas, drop Magnussen, Logan Sargent. It seems like Toto Wolff's doing everything to destroy his career and put Mick Schumacher in that car. Could it happen? Maybe, man, but listen. All these people who thought I even thought it myself, Lewis Hamilton's back. Man, maybe if they put the car together right next season, then maybe he can actually fight Max for the championship. If you had that narrative in mind, you just got a big blow to your self-esteem and ego, because there was nothing in that race that indicated that Mercedes is even the second best team now. And if McLaren's in the mix now and they're giving you problems, you ain't going to have a chance in hell of fighting Max for a win, let alone a championship. I think for the foreseeable future, and I don't say this a lot because, you saw Mercedes how dominant they were, and then one season Max was able to fight and beat them for the championship. I'd say this, I don't have to state the obvious for all the dummies out there. This season's done. I think next season's done too, man. I think Red Bull destroys next season. Now, the season after that, you never know because there's so many changes all the time. But I think easily next season, that's over with too. I think just total domination again from Red Bull. Maybe not this level of domination, but maybe worse, because every time we say that, they bring upgrades and they win by 33 seconds. You guys got to let me know what you want answered. I will answer any question about Formula One. I've got a specific history about everything. You let me know. You bring up talking points. This is a debate format race review, and you let me know what's going on. But there is a lot of stuff to talk about in Formula One. That's not racing, incidentally, because there's whole drama with all the teams and drivers behind it. So put your questions below. I'll answer them all, and I'll keep talking about Formula One and giving you the straight stuff, because everybody else on these platforms are just going to tell you jokes, and they're just European. Their way about talking about Formula One races is a joke. We come here, we got American attitude talking about Formula One. So let me know what you think, and ask me any question, any conspiracy theory. I'll field them all.